For those of you who don't know, recently a YouTuber called Nando V Movies started up a yearly collab titled One Villainous Scene. This is a project that many of my favourite content creators have done videos for, and anyone else can throw their hat in the ring and get added to the playlist. He's done previous collabs of this magnitude, one for the MCU and one for the X-Men films, the former of which I might do a video on now, since Black Widow coming out means that there are now some scenes left that people haven't already taken. But that's not the point of this video. This is about me going over a villain I find interesting. I know the title of the collab and this video implies that it would be focusing on just one scene, but this is just an analysis of the villain in general. Initially, I was going to do a video for the sake of the bit, and go for how effectively my favourite mediocre movie 8 Crazy Nights sets up its protagonist as a kind of villain in the opening. But then I realised this is the one video I can think of that I want to do for my favourite series of all time, One Punch Man. I'm sure nobody else is gonna. God damn it. Whatever, this is from weeks before the collab actually started, and turns out it was actually a shitpost, so doesn't count. So, One Punch Man Season 1 has 5 villains that stand out amongst the crowd. Boros, Carnage Kabuto, Deep Sea King, Speed of Sound Sonic, and this guy whose name I don't care to learn how to pronounce. As the title would suggest, Deep Sea King is the one I'm going to be focusing on, despite how he's not my favourite of the bunch. I like Boros more with how he parallels Saitama, and Sonic is the only one of the bunch who survives more than 3 episodes, so he gets to have a greater amount of memorable moments by default. The reason I chose Deep Sea King is because he's the most effective example in Season 1 of a threatening villain in my opinion, even if some others are more interesting in regards to their characters. Within 2 episodes, well 1.5 really, the show does such a good job at setting him up as a rising threat. Anytime the heroes get a leg up on him and his forces, he quickly regains the upper hand. His goons get taken out single-handedly by the A-class hero Stinger. Deep Sea King shows up and takes him out in a single punch. Okay, but he was already tired and injured, so surely it's not that impressive. Well, here's Lightning Max, another A-class hero in peak condition who can't even make the guy flinch and gets bodied within 2 attacks. How about a hero in the top tier of the rankings then? Here's the S-class hero Puri Puri Prisoner, who actually manages to leave a mark on him. Then it heals immediately, Puri's ultimate attack gets tanked with no issue, then Deep Sea King bodies him while lecturing him on how to really do a combo move. I especially love how this scene helps characterize him as an arrogant shithead, as he remarks how little Puri's attacks hurt, plus the whole lecture on combo attacks. Speed of Sound Sonic shows up and actually starts holding his own. Well, on comes the rain and Deep Sea King is restored to his true form. All that from before was him in a weakened state due to the surface world drying him up. Now he's back at full strength and Sonic no longer stands a chance. So Sonic flees and this leaves Deep Sea King with one more goal while people still inhabit the city. Kill and eat every single civilian remaining. This is where the scene in the title comes in. When he shows up at the evacuation shelter, he fights off 4 weaker heroes fairly easily before fighting Genos, the currently strongest hero he's fought so far, and Genos actually starts doing serious damage. He's able to dehydrate him with his incineration cannons, and despite losing an arm, he still keeps up and does visible damage to him. Things are looking up, but then as the civilians are running, Deep Sea King notices a little girl shouting in support of Genos, so he takes advantage of the fact that he's fighting a hero and spits a glob of acid her way, which Genos has no choice but to jump in front of to protect her. This shows that despite being an arrogant shithead who believes he alone should rule the surface world, deep down he's a coward, who'll even use dirty methods to win if he's put on the back foot. He uses this opening to completely trounce Genos, and it seems like all hope is lost before Moomin Rider shows up to take the big fish down, and he doesn't have any superpowers. He's far from the most physically threatening character. Deep Sea King could kill him so effortlessly, but he gets to show more of his sadistic personality by toying with Moomin, letting him last long enough to give the civilians hope and then knock him out. But before he gets a chance to kill Genos and the rest of the people there, Saitama shows up and swiftly kills him in a single punch. I don't think anyone expected this arc to end any other way. Obviously Deep Sea King was never going to come out on top, but it wasn't about if he'd win or not. It was about how many would fall before he did. Boros and Carnage Kabuto were much stronger than him, but they never really posed an actual threat because Saitama was there to fight them from the start. The only other villain in this season who posed any threat of killing any of the characters was Clayface over there. But even then, there were plenty of S-class heroes around to kick his ass if things got too out of hand. Deep Sea King is the only villain in this entire season who's truly an intimidating threat. His desire to do nothing more than wipe out humans and rule the surface world means that heroes being around to put up a fight, giving his arrogant self a chance to show off his might, is the only thing keeping him distracted from tearing apart a whole city's worth of innocent people. The animation also helps get across this feeling of dread whenever he's around. There are so many shots where you get a chance to see just how much larger and more physically imposing he is than everyone else around him, even when he's not in his larger hydrated form. And the more highly detailed close-ups help make him look much more deranged and dangerous. This is especially prominent in the Genos fight where the close-ups are more common, and he's constantly shown to tower over Genos. What makes him stick with me more though, is that he's one of very few villains in the series to have any impact on the characters after his defeat. He might not have killed anybody, but he still impacted them in different ways. The heroes he defeated still ended up hospitalized. Many use it as a means to motivate themselves to do better, but one of them outright quits the association thanks to how badly Deep Sea King beat him. Puri Puri ends up taking his advice on combo attacks for his fight with What's-His-Face, with what Deep Sea King said repeating in his mind during the fight. He also gets ridiculed in the newspaper, taking a major blow to his reputation because of his failure. And speaking of reputational damage, what follows Deep Sea King's defeat is a contender for my favourite moment in this entire series. Saitama taking him down makes it seem like he'll finally get some recognition for the good he does, and will undo what was done to his reputation by the collateral damage from the meteor he'd previously smashed. But his easy victory makes Deep Sea King, and in turn the heroes who lost to him, look pathetically weak, to the point where the civilians wonder if they should even continue to help fund the Hero Association. Saitama overhears this and makes himself out to be a credit hog who got lucky that the other heroes softened the monster up for him, thus making the heroes who fell look a whole lot more heroic than him. It might put a permanent dent in his reputation, but he doesn't care, because he cares more about doing the right thing than getting credit for his accomplishments. It's a perfect moment, and we wouldn't have gotten there if it wasn't for Deep Sea King being such a formidable antagonist. Over the course of less than 2 episodes, the impact he has and the impression he leaves is nothing short of amazing. With barely half an hour of content between his initial appearance and his death, he establishes himself not only as a physical powerhouse, but a prideful, cruel monster who's more than willing to fight dirty if it means getting closer to achieving his goals. Even if he isn't my favourite villain in the series, he is such a commanding presence every time he shows up, and he's responsible for some of my favourite scenes in any show. And at the end of the day, what more could I want from a villain than that? Hopefully you enjoyed this video. This is very new territory for me. I'll have a link to the full One Villainous Scene playlist in the description, where you can see a bunch of other video essays by really talented people. Also, there's a good chance I'll be uploading this on the same day that Nemesis uploads his video about Gilgamesh from Fate, so go check that out as well. Wait a minute, why did I not even think of doing a video on Tai Lung up until now? That's it, I'm deleting this entire thing and starting over.